Chairperson. Kwenzakalani? Good morning, members. Good morning to everybody in the platform. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Secretary. Good morning, all. Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Morning, Sis Colisa, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Chair, can you please unmute, Chair?
Good morning. Hello.
Good morning, Chair.
Bon dia.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Thanks very much. Let me welcome to the meeting and declare the meeting open.
Chair, your sound is not good at all. I hardly hear you. Can you hear him, members?
Yes, can you fly the agenda? There's the agenda flighted. After adoption of the agenda, we'll listen to apologies, opening remarks, briefing by the Commission for Gender Equality, deliberations, consider the minutes, and closure. Can I have a mover of agenda?
I move for the agenda to Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Poole. Can I get a second?
Morning, Chair. Thank you. I second the adoption of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kakhakin. Is there an alternative view? Nothing. Are there apologies, Secretary?
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning to everybody in the platform. Chairperson, I received an apology from Mr. Mpiti. He will not be able to join the meeting today. I also received an apology from the minister as well as the deputy minister. She cannot join the meeting due to prior commitments from the department.
Thanks very
Chair.
much.
And sorry, Chair, Mr. Gamet is going to join late. He is on transit. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. Any other apology that might have Miss the Secretary's office.
Sorry, Chair. Also, the chairperson of the CGE is not able to join today. I think she's abroad, but the CGE is going to be led by the acting chairperson, Mr. Naidu.
Okay,
Sorry,
thanks very much.
tell Mrs. Hello, Chair.
On item 4, I
Chair, we hardly hear you.
don't have much to say today, and welcome. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, Chair, you are stuttering, but
We can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. I was saying I don't have much to say on chairperson's opening remarks, except to welcome you once more, especially to welcome the representative from the commission. I know today is Friday. It's difficult to have meetings on Friday because most of us are traveling. But let's be businesslike and make sure that we deal with the meeting as soon as possible. Having said that, the minister is not around, the deputy minister is not around. I haven't seen the DG either.
Hello, Chair. I
Yes.
just received a message from the DG's office that DG is attending technical MINMEC. So
All
I
right.
am not sure now. Kosi, can you please assist? Who is leading from the department?
Okay. Let's allow Commissioner Naidu, the acting chairperson, to lead the delegation from the commission and present a report.
Good morning, Chairperson. Thank you so much for the opportunity. As alluded to, an apology from the Chairperson of the Commission for Gender Equality. She's currently abroad attending the CSW event. I'm joined today, Chairperson, by my fellow commissioners of the Commission for Gender Equality, together with members of the Secretariat. If I may be please granted an indulgence to ask my colleagues to just briefly switch on their videos and introduce themselves. Thank you. Commissioners, can I please ask you to introduce yourself, followed by members of the Secretariat?
Good morning, everyone. It's Commissioner Dr. Naidu. I'm having technical difficulties and we have no electricity in the area, so my camera is a bit internet is a bit unstable. Thank you.
Good morning, honorable members. My name is Mfundo Nomvungu, and I'm a commissioner at the Commission for Gender Equality. Also, I think there is a problem with camera from my side because I've shown my face, but it doesn't show on the screen. Thank you for that.
Good morning, honorable members. My name is Commissioner Mulalo Nematayeni. Thank you.
Commissioner Gumede, Commissioner Mukhane, can I please ask you to come in very briefly, colleagues?
Good morning, honorable members and colleagues and commissioners. I am Commissioner Advocate Thando Gumede from the Commission for Gender Equality. Thank you.
Good morning, honorable members, good morning, colleagues. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I am Commissioner, Her Royal Highness, Princess Eureka Mohane, deployed in Mpumalanga. Thank you so much.
Good morning, colleagues. I'm Commissioner Leanne van der Merwe, deployed in the Eastern Cape. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Chairperson. My name is Commissioner Kamuelo Tele. I'm a lead commissioner deployed in the Free State. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Can I then hand over to the acting CEO to introduce her team? Acting CEO.
Good morning, everyone. All protocol observed. I am Antoinette Ngwenya. I'm the acting CEO, and my team with me is HOD Research, Dr. Hoveni, and Notemba, who is from the chairperson's office. Colleagues, please show your face. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO, acting CEO. Good morning, colleagues. All protocol observed. I am Dr. Jamela Hoveni. I am the head of Department for Research at the Commission for Gender Equality. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson, as well as commissioners. My name is Tsetsi Shuping. I'm the head of legal department for the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the indulgence. Just briefly as to why we are all here today. Section 16 of the Commission for Gender Equality Act 39 provides that the Commission may at any time approach the President or Parliament with regard to any matter relating to the exercise of its powers or the performance of its functions. Furthermore, the Act empowers the Commission to recommend to Parliament or any other legislature the adoption of new legislation which would promote gender equality and the status of women. This is the basis in which the CGE resolved to engage different portfolio committees in relation to the CGE reports. The purpose behind engaging portfolio committees is not only to ensure that the departments comply with our recommendations, but to create dialogue around issues of gender equality and ensure that we have a society and government that is knowledgeable, responsive, and accountable on issues around gender equality. Agriculture is a significant sector of the global economy, and women working on farms play a vital role in food production and supply chains. Further, agriculture is a significant form of employment in rural communities, and agriculture contributes substantially to the economy of South Africa. However, women often face discrimination, exploitation, and unequal treatment in terms of wages, working conditions, and access to resources and opportunities. It was on this basis that the CGE, as mandated by the Constitution and the CGE Act, resolved to conduct research on the experience of women farm workers. The sequel 2025 follows the CGE's initial report published in 2024. The HOD research, through our acting CEO, will take the committee through the summary of the report and our findings and recommendations. I believe the full report has been tabled in Parliament and shared with the honorable members. Chairperson, with that few words, I'd like to then hand over to the acting CEO and the HOD research. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairperson. Dr. Hoveni will then take us through the report that is available. Please share, Dr. Harveni, and take over.
Sorry, CEO, I am not able to share my slides, so maybe the meeting chair can give me the rights.
Secretary, can you give, or you are given the rights?
I just want to confirm that you can see my slides.
Yes, Dr. Harveni.
Yes, then
Okay, thank you.
just put it on slideshow. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, members, and to my colleagues from the Commission for Gender Equality, all colleagues present today, for the opportunity to present this landmark study. I think as our Deputy Chairperson has already summarized, this presentation or this discussion is in the context of an agricultural sector that employs majority women. However, most of these women are employed in precarious, informal work conditions or jobs, and also under very difficult work conditions. So this report really is in that context also of an agricultural sector where women, as she mentioned, play a vital role in food production, not only in South Africa, but also in the region. So I think I want us to really place the discussion in that context in order to understand the rationale as well as how the recommendations could possibly address issues that affect farm workers as well as also affect the agricultural sector largely. So this is the table of contents. I have an overview slide of the CGE's mandate, an introduction to the report, a problem statement, as well as aims and objectives. We will briefly discuss the methodology and approach taken, as well as the key findings and then the recommendations. So I think all of us here are present because we understand the work of the Commission, which is rooted in our constitution, and it aims to strengthen our democracy by promotion, protection, development, and attainment of gender equality. So the work that is being presented today is part of our research reports on the monitoring of issues that may hinder the attainment of gender equality. So this is one of our many reports that we publish. And just an introduction, in 2023 and 2024, as well as 24 and 25, as the DC mentioned, the CGE conducted a study to investigate the experiences of women farm workers. Women farm workers continue to face serious challenges in their work, including crime, violence, poor living and working conditions, limited access to basic services like healthcare and education. They are also denied land ownership and control, which limits their independence and economic security. On the issue of land ownership and control, as you would know, this is on the basis of land ownership and tenure that is based on customary law as opposed to being rooted in our constitutional, in the constitution, which allows anyone to own land in South Africa. The Commission for Gender Equality looked into the lived experiences of women farm workers in selected provinces of KwaZulu-Natal, Gauteng, Free State, and the Western Cape to better understand these issues. The study focused on 3 agricultural subdivisions: field crop sugar, animal products and dairy, and horticulture and wine. So those are the sectors that we focused on. We didn't look at all sectors. As I've already mentioned, women farm workers in South Africa continue to face layered and intersecting challenges rooted in the legacy of apartheid, ongoing structural inequality, patriarchy, and gender-based discrimination. Despite, as we've mentioned, the critical role they play in agriculture, they are often subjected to exploitative working conditions, economic insecurity, and unsafe environments. These challenges are worsened by the lack of access to land, training programs, and resources, which limits their ability to improve productivity and achieve economic independence. Of course, while gender-inclusive agricultural policies exist, poor implementation and weak enforcement continue to marginalize women, denying them equal opportunity and meaningful participation. With that background, the study sought to examine the working condition faced by women farm workers in those sectors that we've identified, as well as an assessment of the physical environment, the labor hours, basically the working conditions, and access to basic amenities such as sanitation and healthcare on the farms. The study also sought to delve into the lived experience of women working in agricultural settings, focusing on their daily challenges, personal stories, as well as socioeconomic factors that influence their work life. And then finally, the study sought to investigate the mechanisms and policies aimed to promote gender equality on South African farms, encompassing an analysis of legislation, training programs, and support systems designed to empower women and ensure equitable treatment in terms of pay, responsibilities, and professional development opportunities. The methodology adopted was a qualitative methodology, which is appropriate here in order to gain deeper insight into the complex experiences of women working in the sectors. This method enabled the collection of rich, detailed data, allowing for an in-depth understanding of behaviors, beliefs, perceptions, and personal narratives. And just to say that, I think broadly, we know we have the statistics in most cases of the percentage of women employed in agricultural sectors, percentage of women working in various, specific sectors. What is often we don't have the detailed and, complex experiences that would speak to some of these policy gaps in terms of having policies that are there to address gender inequality in farms, while at the same time having women that are still experiencing these complex challenges. So it's always good also to complement, I think, a statistical approach with a qualitative approach that would allow us to gain insights that we would otherwise not have. The study employed an exploratory research design suited for in-depth exploration of phenomena, as I mentioned. And in order to operationalize this, we utilized in-depth interviews and focus group discussions to gather data. We interviewed women farm workers. We interviewed the owners and managers of farms and other stakeholders. This is just a slide that shows, the number of people who were interviewed and the types, I won't say types, but the kind of roles that these people occupied. So we interviewed some experts, researchers in the field of agriculture and gender studies. We interviewed occupational health and safety specialists, some people in the trade union, 9 farm workers or managers, 80 farm workers, one senior official from an NGO, and so on. So a total of 97 people were interviewed. So I'm just going to summarize the key findings from the studies. And the study identified the following issues that emerged as affecting women farm workers. The first one is on living conditions, then on working conditions, violence and exploitations, health and safety, and access to land and safety. We will discuss these in a little bit details in the next slide. So on housing condition, on living conditions, the first theme which was identified was around housing conditions. It was found that women working in farms face deeply troubling living conditions that reflect broader structural and gender inequalities in South Africa's agricultural sector. Housing is often in compound-style dormitories, hostels, or op-style dwellings. And these houses often lack basic infrastructure, privacy, and safety. These accommodations are frequently overcrowded, they are poorly maintained, and offer inconsistent access to essential services like water, sanitation, and electricity. Seasonal workers are especially disadvantaged with limited access to resources and no formal housing rights, as they are employed on a seasonal basis. Hygiene and sanitation are major concerns, particularly in shared toilets cleaned only once a day, creating health risks for many women using them. In addition, overcrowding and shared facilities. I think we've already discussed this, but generally the houses are poorly maintained, and then the complaints in terms of inadequate facilities are not attended to. These conditions not only reflect physical neglect, but also a lack of respect for basic rights of farm workers. While efforts by organizations such as Fair Trade International have made a positive difference for some, such as providing houses, these kinds of improvements are rare and are not common for most farm workers. Access to basic services remains a significant challenge for women farm workers, as the state's responsibility for service delivery often shifts to farm owners who provide only limited amenities. While clean drinking water and basic sanitations are sometimes available, electricity access is also a major gap. And workers are required to purchase prepaid electricity for their own wages, which affects them in terms of affordability or which reduces access. And then finally, the inadequate basic services infrastructure deepens the marginalization of women farm workers. On care roles and family life, the study identifies the emotional toll of balancing work and caregiving. The emotional and physical toll of long working hours, often starting before dawn and ending late, leaves little time for family life. Many women express deep emotional distress at being unable to see their children's daily routines or witness their children grow. Women are often burdened with the dual burden of fulfilling work demands as well as caring for their children, in the context where there is inadequate child care support. Care role and family life, continuing. Despite these challenges, some farms offer limited concessions to ease the pressure on working mothers. A few farms provide 1 hour of paid breastfeeding time, even though it is not legally required. One mother remarked that although she can breastfeed at noon and use the remaining time later, the emotional and physical strain is still very real. These examples highlight how work-life imbalances persist, leaving women physically exhausted and emotionally strained. There was a finding related to evictions. Farm dwellings remain a common practice in the Western Cape, or farm evictions, where workers and their families live on agricultural properties in exchange for labor. This arrangement often reinforces exploitative power dynamics that limit autonomy, especially for women, trapping them in dependency and undermining opportunities for employment. So where, for example, farm workers are allowed to live on the farm or on the property in exchange for labor, of course, that traps them in a cycle of dependency, and which undermines their independence and opportunities for empowerment. One of the most pressing issues facing women farm workers is evictions, which is often triggered by changes in farm ownerships, mechanization, or shifts towards commercial agribusiness models. Most farms in the Western Cape, for example, are being sold to foreign nationals, leaving workers vulnerable to evictions. Single mothers, widows, and older women are especially vulnerable, often the first to lose both their jobs and their homes due to evictions. The impact of evictions goes beyond financial hardship. It cuts women off from vital services like education, healthcare, and community networks, compounding their social and emotional isolation. I think this is such an important point, because if you live on a farm where you work, and living on this farm gives you access to key services that you otherwise wouldn't have. So when you are evicted, you not only lose your job, but you also lose crucial access to these life-saving services. Then, with regards to employment contracts, women farm workers experience job insecurity regardless of whether they are employed on a seasonal or permanent contract, though the nature of their insecurity differs significantly. Specifically with regards to seasonal contracts, these are the most vulnerable due to temporary and informal nature of their employment. Their contracts are often unwritten, and their jobs last only a few months during the harvest season. Without access to pension schemes, maternity benefits, or skills development programs, these women remain trapped in a cycle of repetitive low-wage labor with no prospects for advancement. I think in the context of the agricultural sector and generally in South Africa, we talk about feminized poverty. That is the fact that women are most likely to be poor, and the kind of work that they occupy does not allow them to escape the poverty. So, I think in this context, it's very relevant that these women remain trapped in a cycle of repetitive low-wage labor with no prospects for advancement. And then with regards to permanent contracts, while some workers have permanent contracts enjoying employment benefits such as UIF contributions, consistent income, and occasional paid leave, they face a different kind of insecurity. Despite their stable contracts, many report feeling stagnant in their roles with limited or no opportunities for promotion or skills upgrading. Long-serving women often remain in the same position for decades without retirement benefits or meaningful career progression. Promotion opportunities tend to favor men, especially in roles involving machinery or technical work, even though women frequently perform more physically demanding tasks in the fields. On maternity leave, the maternity leave remains a significant concern for women farm workers, where the reliance on female labor is high, but formal labor protections are inconsistently applied or entirely lacking. Although the basic conditions of employment provides 4 months of maternity leave, it is unpaid, compelling workers to depend on UIF for partial wage replacements, which typically ranges from 40 to 60% of their salary. However, this system is fraught with challenges, especially for rural women who often struggle with access and complex application process, long waiting periods, and inconsistent payouts. The absence of in-house maternity benefits from employers compounds this hardship, exposing pregnant women to wage insecurity and reinforcing cycles of poverty and dependency. With regards to employee relations, participants revealed that women farm workers often endure toxic and unfriendly working environments marked by strained relationship with farm owners and managers. The situation is further complicated by entrenched patriarchal norms within family-owned farms where inheritance practices favor men, marginalizing women from ownership and decision-making roles. A female farm owner recounted how her authority was routinely undermined by male relatives and employees who refused to accept her leadership, causing internal conflict, legal disputes, and business instability. Her experience highlights the gender bias in agricultural leadership, where women in power often face resistance, lack of recognition, and external exploitation. With regards to working hours, remuneration, and pay, the study revealed that women farm workers endure some of the harshest working conditions in the agricultural sector, characterized by long hours, inconsistent pay structure, and gendered wage disparities. Participants consistently report working shifts that exceed the standard 8-hour work day, starting at 3 a.m. and only returning home after 5 p.m. during the peak harvest. While the national minimum wage was set at 27.58 per hour in 2024-25, women on seasonal contracts report irregular payment structures that often fail to meet this baseline. Gendered pay gaps were evident in the study, with women reporting that they were earning less than men, even though they were performing more physically demanding work such as harvesting, picking, and carrying produce. Men were more likely to occupy machine operating roles, which tend to pay more than the basic roles. And then the variability and lack of transparency in wage allocation, even among workers performing similar duties, fostered a culture of secrecy and tension, discouraging open dialogue about salaries. With regards to access to water and ablution facilities, we have discussed this also under living conditions, where farm workers generally don't have access to basic services like nearby toilets during working hours, which exposes women to serious health risks as well as gender-based violence. Participants highlighted how these working conditions force women to relieve themselves in isolated areas, exposing them to risks such as sexual harassment, snake bites, while also stripping them of their privacy and dignity. And then also on access to water and ablution facilities, some employers provide water. Although some employments provide water, the supply is often insufficient for the long physically demanding shifts performed under extreme weather conditions. These conditions not only compromise the physical health and safety of women farm workers, but also reflect a broader neglect of their human rights. And then on violence and exploitations, gender-based violence and sexual harassment were identified as also factors. These are persistent and deeply troubling aspects of lived experiences of women farm workers. Participants from the Western Cape shared distressing accounts of sexual violence, including rape emphasizing their heightened vulnerability both in the workplace and during commutes. These incidents are compounded by a lack of employer-provided transportation, which forces women to walk long distances from informal settlements to farms during early morning hours, often in unsafe areas. The lack of access to security personnel, including SAPS, due to the remote location of farms, further exacerbate the vulnerability of women farm workers. Also on gender-based violence, the absence of basic infrastructure such as accessible toilets further worsens these risks as women are forced to use the bush, exposing them to harassment and assault. As one participant states, no, because we go to the bushes to relieve ourselves, they, the male co-workers, can also come look at us. There is no security and safety, making us more vulnerable to either rape or any assault. And then on migrant labor, the study also identified migrant workers as also being particularly vulnerable. Migrant workers often face harassment due to their intersecting vulnerabilities as undocumented or precariously documented or employed individuals. The fear of deportation often prevents them from reporting abuse, while their exclusion from union representation and formal complaint system further isolates them. These women are not only subject to exploitative labor practices, but are also more likely to experience sexual assault in the workplace. Then on transport facilities, this was also identified as a factor affecting women. Access to reliable transport, healthcare, and security is essential for women working in vineyards and dairy sectors, directly impacting their safety, well-being, and economic participation in the agricultural workforce. However, many women farm workers face significant barriers in these areas, particularly in remote rural locations where infrastructure is poor and public transport is also scarce. While reliable transportation is there, women struggle to reach farms safely, often relying on unsafe or costly alternatives, which can deter their participation. These challenges are not just logistical, but deeply embedded in gendered inequalities, where rural women's access to essential services remains limited, reinforced by their vulnerability and economic independence. The lack of reliable and safe transportation not only undermines their ability to access work and essential services consistently, but also exposes them to heightened risks of gender-based violence, particularly in the early morning. With regards to barriers to land access or land ownership and access to credit, barriers to land ownership and access to credit for women revealed entrenched gendered and structural inequalities that continue to marginalize female agricultural workers and aspiring farmers. Despite their substantial contribution to the sector, women are often confined to low-wage seasonal roles that limit their economic mobility and capacity to invest in land. And as also mentioned earlier, women generally lack security of tenure and often access land. I think this is still going to come up through either inheritance or through a male relative, which limits their ability to be productive and also for economic empowerment. So in rural areas, as mentioned, customary practices entrench male dominance, with many women forced to rely on male relatives for access to land, credit, and farming opportunities, undermining their autonomy. These barriers highlight the urgent need for structural reforms that ensure women's equitable access to land, financial services, and representation in the agricultural decision-making spaces. So just some data here. An exploratory study on women and gender inequality in South Africa conducted in 2020, commissioned by the Western Cape Provincial Government, revealed the following findings. Women own only 21% of farmland. Women at the same time comprise 52% of seasonal agricultural workforce and 34% of the permanent workforce. Just 16% of farm managers are women, and among full-time female farm workers, 69% hold administrative positions. So you see a very skewed picture where although women comprise over 50% of agricultural workforce, they only represent 16% of farm managers. Majority of them hold administrative positions, but I think more importantly, women only own 25% of all farmland. The Department of Agriculture, Land Reform, Rural Development does not provide recent gender disaggregated statistics on land ownership in its annual report or on its website, making it challenging to gain a comprehensive understanding of the issue. Similarly, the Department of Cooperative Governments and Traditional Affairs also lacks data on communal land allocated to women for agricultural purposes, further contributing to the data gap. And then with regards to our recommendations, we have made several recommendations on the study covering various issues, and I'll just go through them very quickly. In terms of transformation and upward mobility, gender transformation in farm work requires deliberate planning, investment in training, and strong partnerships between government and farm workers, supported by agencies like AgriSeta and relevant ministries. Farm owners must take responsibility by implementing gender equality frameworks and workplace skills plans that promote women's advancement and create inclusive work environments. In terms of upskilling and education for women farmers, bridging the education gap and providing targeted training in modern labor-saving agricultural technologies is essential to empower women farm workers and enhance their productivity. Innovations should focus on reducing physical burdens and equipping women with skills to operate advanced digital and automated machinery. Support from farm owners and government bodies is crucial to ensure women, especially in remote areas, have access to lasting education and resources for sustainable farming. And I think on these points, it's very crucial that women are given support in the form of having childcare facilities that would effectively redistribute paid and unpaid care burdens. This would significantly improve women's labor force participation, because we know that unpaid care work is a huge constraint on women's labor force participation. So without that, most of these recommendations would probably not result in the kind of transformation that we want. Aligning work conditions to legislations. So employment conditions like wages, hours, and leave must comply with the basic conditions of employment, with all benefits clearly stated in written contracts. And I think all of these things are, they exist as we discussed, but they're not being enforced. So looking at how these can be enforced, maybe through inspections, could be helpful. The CGE recommends that the Department of Employment and Labor rigorously enforce this law through investigations, farm inspections, and legal actions when violations occur. Additionally, complaints from women farm workers must be addressed promptly to protect their rights and ensure fair treatment in the agricultural sector. And finally, with regards to ablution facilities, improving safe, private, and hygienic ablution facilities on farms, especially in remote areas, is important. Innovative, sustainable solutions developed through collaboration between farm owners, the Department of Water and Sanitation, and workers themselves are important. With regards to worker transport, although not legally required, farmers should prioritize providing safe transport for workers due to remote locations of farms. Current transport methods like trucks and tractors are unsafe, so collaboration with provincial transport departments is essential to develop safer, cost-effective solutions. And then on adequate housing, the extension of Security of Tenure Act has unintentionally increased evictions, leading to overcrowded, unsafe, and poorly serviced housing conditions, often worsened by deliberate constructive eviction tactics by some farmers. To address this, relevant government departments must collaborate to ensure safe, dignified, and gender-sensitive housing with secure land tenure and involve farm workers in developing tailored and effective solutions. Land use and customary practices, the CGE recommends that transforming discriminatory practices, restructuring land ownership mechanisms, and providing targeted training and funding to empower women as land owners. And then key government departments such as COGTA and Rural Development must lead efforts to create an equitable, inclusive land system that supports women's rights and livelihoods. And this is just something on information access and awareness by farm workers. I just want to focus on the ones that I think are really critical for engagement in this committee. Thank you very much. That is the end of my presentation, and I'll hand over back to the chair.
Thanks very much. I'm not sure whether the acting chair wants to add something.
Thank you, Chairperson. No, I have nothing to add. We await the necessary questions from your members, honorable members. Thank you.
Honorable members, there is a report. Can we engage the report? Are there questions for clarity? Are there inputs? Honorable Abada. Honorable Abada.
Good morning, Chair. Yeah, there we go. Good morning, Chair. Good morning to my fellow colleagues and all entities. Can you hear me, Chair?
Yeah, now
Chair,
we
can
can
you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Good morning to everybody on the platform, to you, Chair, and all entities, our support staff as well. Thank you for the presentation, but it's very heart-wrenching to hear in today's day and age what our women are going through. And our women are literally the backbone of society. We carry everything. We carry our homes, we carry our children, and everything starts with us. So to hear that this is, the plight of our farm workers, is very, very heart-wrenching. So my questions are, if South Africa has laws such as the Extension of Security of Tenure Act meant to protect farm dwellers, why do women farm workers still face evictions, unsafe housing, and exploitation with little consequence for farm owners who violate these laws? How many inspections have government departments conducted on farms in the past 3 years? to assess housing conditions, labor rights, and gender-based violence affecting women farm workers, and how many farm owners have been penalized. Why does government continue to allow housing to remain tied to employment on farms when this clearly traps women in a system where losing a job can instantly mean losing a home and dignity? My comments are, the report shows that women farm workers remain among the most invisible and unprotected workers in the country, despite agriculture being a major contributor to the economy. Government policies may look progressive on paper, but the reality on farms suggests a complete breakdown in enforcement and rural oversight. When housing, employment, and power are concentrated in the hands of farm owners, women are often left with little choice but to endure exploitation to protect their families from homelessness. My recommendations: government must introduce a dedicated rural housing program for farm workers, particularly women, so that housing security is not entirely dependent on employment. There must be joint enforcement inspections between the departments of labor, human settlements, agriculture, and rural development to monitor farm workers' housing and labor conditions. And lastly, Parliament should require annual reporting on farm worker evictions, housing conditions, and labor violations to ensure that abuses on farms are no longer hidden from national oversight. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Khakil. Honorable Khakil.
I am driving. I won't be able to show my face. Let me welcome the presentations and greetings to you, Chairperson, honorable members, our support staff, and the delegation from CGE. Let me welcome and appreciate the presentation, Chairperson. I'm not sure if I've missed something. The Commission is doing a very good job of researching. Their findings, they are really heartbreaking. But I just want to check with the Commission as to what is it that they are recommending to the committee to do. Unless if I've missed something, because I am on the way, Chair. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Acting Chairperson of the Commission.
Thank you, Chair. I see there's a hand raised from the honorable members. Perhaps you want to take the question before we respond there too.
You want me to take all the questions?
I think so, Chair, and then we'll respond.
All right. Honorable Ditebe.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members, acting chair of the CGE, all the commissioners, our support staff, and everybody else on the platform. Chairperson, I'm also driving, so pardon me. I hope you can hear me, Chair. Hello?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, just 2 or 3 questions, some maybe comments. First of all, I also would like to join the rest of the members in thanking the Commission for a very comprehensive presentation, which is very sound in terms of the methodologies engaged to arrive at the conclusions that the research has arrived at. So there is absolutely no doubt that every single avenue has been traversed to ensure the integrity of the data that's been shared with us. indeed very troubling in terms of the plight of women. Chairperson, we have just come back from Brazil, where we shared our experiences with a number of entities there, organizations, in particular social movements. And in the process of us doing so, we visited the Paulo Freire Institute, and one of the important things there is that that particular philosopher, and may his soul rest in peace, and may he continue to inspire all of us, is that the humanity of one person is bound up with that of the other person. And this is the case, I want to argue, with our women, until such time that we have totally emancipated the other half plus of our society. We cannot totally claim that we are emancipated. 30 years or so of democracy and freedom notwithstanding. So my point, Chairperson, is that I'd like to know if you look at the other entities, I'm talking here of academic institutions, is there any relationship, for example, between CGE and academic institutions? In particular here, Chair, I am looking at the University of the Western Cape's Poverty, Land and Agrarian Studies unit there, which is doing quite a great deal of work in the sector, for example, that is the focus of research here, for example, or by CGE. That's the first part of the question. And what specific recommendations is the CGE prepared to make with regards to ameliorating the unintended consequences of the extension of Security of Tenure Act, ESTA, to the extent that it so gravely affects women and their well-being and quality of life? So I would like to hear what specific recommendations are being made. Lastly, Chairperson, has the Commission perhaps found out that insofar as women who are foreign nationals and obviously are exposed to all kinds of risks, has the Commission perhaps established that there is perhaps some intention, deliberate intention on the part of farm owners to recruit such women? I've seen quite a number, in particular from Zimbabwe, in the Western Cape, etc., so as to further entrench their vulnerability. And what is it that is being done with regards to that? Any further proposals, for example, as I've said, with regards to the reforms, such as those that can be forwarded to the South African Law Reforms Commission, Law Reform Commission. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. If we can please remove the presentation from the platform. And then Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm also en route, I'm in transit, so I would like to request to keep my camera off, but I would like to start by acknowledging and appreciating the presentation that we've just received from the Commission for Gender Equality. And from a human settlements perspective, the findings are particularly concerned as they highlight issues relating to inadequate housing, insecure tenure, overcrowding, and limited access to basic services such as water and sanitation and electricity in farms. These conditions raise serious questions about how housing rights and dignity are being protected for women living and working in rural farming communities. And I think as a member of this committee, we are going to give an affirmation and confirmation that we are going to give special attention to farm dwellings because human settlements must be across all boards. It doesn't matter where a person is, especially where they are placed. We must give particular focus and attention also to the conditions of settlements in farms. And I think this presentation was a good reminder to that wherever we go for oversight and wherever we ask for reports, if it can also include the farms as well, in particular the conditions of women. But my question to the Commission, not necessarily human settlement related, but I want to know, do you engage traditional courts, so the councils that are placed, because I see that the provinces that you've based your study on are mostly rural provinces. I come from one myself, and I know what is dominant is that usually when there's justice refuge that women seek, the first line of defense or the first responded would most likely be the traditional councils, and how traditional courts then respond to the issues of women in particular, and if you have engaged them, and what is the response, and if you are working with them in order for them, are they receiving these studies as well, so that they are also on par with legislative processes as well as traditional processes. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Karakibe, if you can lower your hand. Honorable Gamede.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chair, this report highlights a disturbing gap between South Africa's progressive labor laws, like the BCEA and ESTA, and the reality on the ground, where these laws are often poorly enforced or ignored in rural farming communities. It is significant that the study identifies electricity access as a major barrier to upward mobility. Nothing that women attempting e-learning to advance their careers are often thwarted by a lack of connectivity and the high cost of prepaid power. Chairperson, I just have two questions. How does the double burden of agricultural labor and domestic care roles perpetuate a cycle of poverty that specifically targets women mental and physical health? Given that women are often excluded from land ownership and decision making due to patriarchal customary practices, what specific legislative teeth are required to ensure that they are recognized as equal stakeholders rather than just laborers? Thank you very much, Chairperson. I will stop there. Maybe at a later stage, one can come up with a recommendation that could also assist, especially from the Department of Employment and Labor, which I think can conduct more frequent and announced inspections to ensure that all farms provide adequate private pollution facilities and clean water to prevent health complications like UTIs and productive issues. Further on that, I'll come at a later stage if still time permits. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you. Honorable Frenchman.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, all. Chairperson, mine is just a comment. I think that this presentation should be given to various departments at the same time. For example, labor, us, of course, and other departments like water and sanitation, because those departments need to come up with a solution, because from what we've heard now, those conditions of women are appalling. And we really need to take this seriously, and all these departments must sit down and go through this and come up with solutions. As I understand, I think the labor laws for farm workers are different to normal labor laws. And those are things that we need to look at as to how do we address all of those shortcomings. Yeah, that's just my comment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Paul.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everybody. Yes, let me welcome the presentation as well. And I want to agree with a previous member, Franken, and as well let's on to what Member Betty was saying is that what assistance this committee need from the Department of Human Settlements and us as a committee. But then again, I was covered by the previous member by saying, is the current laws monitoring the situation of farms effective or to monitor this challenge that's highlighted in this report? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Acting Chairperson and your team.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Chairperson, I'm going to hand over to the acting CEO for the HOD Research and Legal to answer your questions. Thank you very much. Acting CEO, can I please ask the HOD Research and Legal to attend to the questions posed by the Honorable?
Through you, Chairperson. Yes, over to you, Tsietsi, and followed by Dr. Hoveni.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, CEO. Honorable members as well. In respect of the first of the questions that is raised by Honorable Abada in respect of the Security of Tenure Act, the Commission has noted as well as cited in the reports regarding also the Labour Tenants Act, also the basic conditions. There have been improvements that were made to try and address these issues. But the reality is that the problems continues purely and specifically because of poor or lack of implementation, particularly at these rural areas. So these offices or the regulatory bodies that are under these offices, the duty bearers, are situated in areas that are not close to these farm areas, and most of them are not reaching these areas due to various reasons, among others, geographical locations. And we have engaged in this regard with the Department of Employment and Labor regarding some of this, engaging them regarding this report. That is as well as the investigations that is currently ongoing that the Commission is conducting in the Western Cape into similar issues of farms. Our commissioners have visited the Western Cape in alignment with the investigations that is currently ongoing that we will be issuing a report on, particularly regarding the Western Cape. Essentially, what is coming out is that out of the information that was provided from the Department of Employment and Labor, they have about 217 inspectors. And in terms of the Western Cape, it has more than 320 farms, particularly commercial farms in the Western Cape. The reality is that no matter how long it can take those inspectors, they may not ever reach all of those farms. And it is always aligned in terms of the targets and the of inspections that they can conduct, including the traveling distances and areas. Essentially, that speaks to the issue that the report before the committee is engaging on about enforcement. So those issues are some of the issues that needs to be engaged. We are continuing with engagement with the department, which we will capture in accordance with the reports that will be issuing because the investigation is still ongoing. But essentially, the fact remains that inspections are insufficient. We also engage the CCMA, and in terms of the CCMA, for about a period of more than 2 years, they received or registered 123 cases This to us also raises the issue of awareness regarding the rights of the workers, particularly also the seasonal workers that are coming in during those times where a lot of activities are taking place. Now, when you're looking at they have provided categories of these cases, how they were handled, but essentially 123 will not be sufficient. Being cases referred in the Western Cape, particularly for the entire financial year. So education is also necessary because the issues that are raised in this report, as well as observations that have been made, there are a lot of issues. But awareness, education, and literacy can also add to the issues. And we would like to see these authorities registering more cases and adjudicating on more cases to reinforce the rights of the workers. Now, with these low numbers and low inspectors, we are far from reaching that reality and transforming these real situations that we are facing. And in terms of the, so I believe this will also answer the questions regarding the actual number of inspections. If I can just quickly see on this side, just pardon me, Honorable Member, Honorable Chairperson. Chairperson, I will just indicate that information. I have the information regarding the total number of inspections. I've answered about the inspectors, but for now, because I was presenting, I misplaced the information regarding the inspection. I would just, as my colleagues come through, indicate the total number of inspections in accordance with the Department of Employment and Labor, but it is insufficient, Chairperson. I will come back with the exact number. Therefore, speaking about the issue of enforceability. And it goes back to the issue of then the farm owners. Are they penalized for breaching these laws that are meant to protect farm workers? And when you see this type of cases that we are having in the environment, it shows that there is no sufficient protection or sufficient cases for them to be held accountable. In terms of the categories that were given in those 123 cases that were handled, 18 is misconduct, 16 it's cited as unknown reasons. So therefore, data capturing is also a problem in the Department of Labor in terms of categorizing these correctly so that we are informed about who is charged for what and what is the outcomes of these cases. About 17 were cited as constructive dismissal. It is broad. That category does not assist in terms of saying, but what was happening, what were the conditions of these workers and what were the outcomes. They were not readily available, this information, which we will continuously engage the department on so that we can see what is the loopholes in terms of its reporting systems to address these issues. There were issues of about 18 cases under the category of incapacity that were also cited, essentially showing that the lack of categorization does not assist the committee as well as the commission in as far as data that is being captured so that we can answer this question to say how many farm workers have been awarded compensation against, for example, and also been found to be in breach of these policies. So reporting has to be improved in terms of Department of Employment and Labor. And the Honorable Kehakilo was asking what do we recommend as the commission or to the committee to be doing. We indeed recommend the committee to engage as actually proposed by Honorable Frenchman in respect of the need to engage everyone that is involved. The reality is that the farm workers are facing different issues like water as indicated, municipalities' involvement. We also engage the municipality. They also the data that they are capturing regarding relief that they have supported, it's lagging behind. In terms of the water, also ensuring that there is water supply that is being provided by the municipality, they are also involved in the role. Farm workers themselves or the owners, particularly, pardon me, also are not coming into the play in terms of engaging the municipalities, having that relationship to indicate where they lack and they need support in terms of water supply. So I do concur that therefore with honorable members that there is that need to meet all and engage all these departments in a collective committee sitting, particularly or through different various engagements, because not only one entity can be held accountable in terms of the issues that are coming out, be it from enforcement as well as different services that are needed in this respect. So our recommendation is further engagement to be held with other entities, and to also in terms of the report that we are currently busy with, it will also be tabled. It will also provide further clarity in terms of what I'm indicating, because what you are hearing now is not what was captured in the research report. It was now post the report, where we are now working towards implementing the recommendations of the research report that is presented today. Therefore, a report will be coming in this regard. And then Honorable Ditebe also asks several questions in respect of the relationship with other entities. I believe I have covered that, indicating that we have been engaging with the South African Police Service, the CCMA. What is clear is that the enforcement is very poor. It's not covering, statistics are very low, as if there are no these seasonal workers that are going there from now and time, always been carried behind the bakkies and in full load. But these statistics, we are not finding them being captured in terms of services that are delivered by various departments. And then in terms of the legislation, Honorable Diteba, I also actually alluded to the questions in my in my response, indicating that the legislation is there, but if the authorities are not empowered and capacitated to conduct inspections, to hold these farm owners accountable, we will still remain to have this problem continuing. And in terms of recruitments as well, it is a prerogative of the Department of Labor in terms of inspecting and ensuring that the people who are appointed is due to scarce skills, and what is the reality and statistics in this regard. If the chairperson would maybe further provide input in respect of the observations made by our commissioners regarding, be it cooperation that has been lacking or lack of services, even poor conditions that we observed. But what you can see already from the Department of Labor, they have very few inspectors to work and enforce effectively these inspections and find these workers. One of the farmers that our commissioners visited was indicating that they were not, in fact, working at all at certain moment, and they are closed for some particular reason. And without inspectors that can regularly visit these farmers, that can be not be verified with certainty. It seems when we inform them about the visit, they find ways to get rid of either the farm workers and so. And if there would be simultaneous visits at these farms by a sufficient number of inspectors so that they can capture even video footages and making an example of the farmers that are there. Because at times when you ask for statistics, you find that they say they are not workers because the work comes in terms of the seasons. But and when you engage the workers that are really permanent there in living in the area, they are not always free to be speaking about this. And enforcement is the only aspect that can assist us to see indeed whether the numbers that are reported are truly the numbers that are working and are not hidden from us, therefore covering the issues of the foreign workers as well. So we cannot tell, with the poor capturing of the data and production of it from this and lack of coordination, we are struggling to get exactly the numbers in terms of these statistics. And in the Honorable Dlamini, regarding the issue of traditional practices and legislation, the Commission conducted in this in the financial year where this report of farm workers was issued, in other words, previous financial year, we did also table the report in Parliament about the investigation in Northwest. We looked into the practices of Royal Bafokeng, and indeed we found that a lot of land was allocated through the traditional authorities to 60% to men. And again, raising the issue of accessibility. And also there are no systems in place to say, in terms of the applications and requests that were made by the communities requesting land, to what extent or statistics are they having? They are not capturing that. Accountability is not there because in terms of the applications, there is no written records of applications to say your application was denied or approved. You will find in some instances men being discriminated from even allocation of land when they are not married. So those different issues were not captured correctly. And the gap that was created is because of Clara, the legislation which was declared unconstitutional. The authorities paused their role in terms of ensuring that we are getting an alternative legislation or improving that legislation that was declared unconstitutional so that we align it. And traditional authorities have also regulations in terms of basics, application processes, records keeping, and as well as adjudication processes so that they are able to handle the applications correctly. At the current moment, there is no legislation regulating that environment, and land would be issued in terms of whoever is there, or the council will sit and adjudicate, but there are no records so that we can examine why 60% is still men only and why a lot of women were declined. So that report also, it has been tabled in Parliament and it can be shared with the committee as well for their view. In terms of that report, the recommendation that the Commission made was that Parliament, in alignment with Section 15 and 16 of the Commission for Gender Equality Act, to enact legislation that is addressing these issues that are not, this environment that is not regulated in terms of traditional land allocation practices. So therefore, even when you look into in terms of rural development's role also, because particularly in the allocation, they are not particularly involved, but when land is being returned to these traditional authorities, accountability is lacking in that regard. And we want to deal with the issues of people benefiting because either they are rich and one person having different lands in different areas, but because of poor record keeping or lack thereof and legislation closing this gap, traditional authorities are continue to run it. We do not undermine the traditional authorities. It is within their constitutional right to also administer in terms of their traditional practices. However, it is clear in terms of our constitution that there should be accountability and transparency in the processes. Hence, the record keeping is important to gauge and measure accessibility in this regard. In terms of the, I think my colleagues will assist me with the question of Honorable Gamete because I was not sure in terms of the question. I will ask maybe for the question to be rephrased unless my colleagues have captured the question. I think I have addressed the questions to the best of my abilities, Chairperson. Back to you in terms of my other colleagues to also engage. Thank you.
Thank you, HOD Legal. Can I then hand over to HOD Research?
Thank you, DC. I think HOD Legal has covered most of it, but I will just go through my notes to see what I have said here. I think the first was a comment on if South Africa has such good laws, why are women still exposed to these hardships? And also how many inspections have been made. I think HOD Legal has addressed that one. And then there was a question on partnerships or maybe collaborations with academic entities such as PLUS at the University of the Western Cape that does a lot of research on land and agrarian issues. So I think that comment is welcome. We do collaborate a lot with various universities in terms of our research studies. So that is definitely something that we can look into. And then I think there was a question or a comment on migrant workers and whether or not farm workers deliberately employ migrants or foreigners in order to undercut or undermine labor laws and pay them less. So I think maybe that's something that we need to look at from a research point of view. I think that is something anecdotally that we observe, but it would be helpful if we had some data. Maybe that is also an area in which we must conduct some research to actually follow up on this issue as it is emerging from the study. There was a comment on issues related to inadequate housing and water. And also the inadequate nature of farm dwellings. And I think here the point is that we need to engage the Department of Human Settlements and inquire in terms of what has been done so far as or regarding farm dwellings. And also maybe engage the Department of Public Works and other departments as well. I think that the point of the conversation is to highlight that various stakeholders need to be engaged on this issue in order to close the gaps. There was a comment on traditional courts. I think to some extent, maybe HOD Legal, you have touched on that to talk about sort of what we've observed in other provinces in terms of how women are marginalized. And I think the speaker was emphasizing the need to engage traditional courts in these debates, or maybe rather to present to traditional courts and maybe on these issues in order to make them aware of the issues, the gaps, as well as these experiences of not only farm workers, but also rural women. There's a comment here that says there's a gap between South Africa's progressive labor laws and the reality on the ground. I think we agree with that comment. I think we've also discussed it at length. But I think for me, that's such an important takeaway to say that there clearly are gaps in the system in terms of our progressive legislations and the experiences of people on the ground. And that's also something to look into. I think that's almost everything that I made a note of on my side. I don't know if honorable members want to come back with further questions. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Honorable Chairperson. Pardon me, I'm struggling to raise my hand. If you may allow me just to present the questions regarding the inspections that were conducted in terms of our engagement.
Thank you, HOD.
Thank you, Chairperson. In terms of the inspection, honorable members and honorable Chairperson, we indicated that the inspectors are 217 in the Western Cape. And they have conducted the basic conditions of employment inspections under that legislation. And we were asking particularly about Western Cape districts. And in PAL, they conducted 13 inspections, and they indicating that they have 6 inspectors in terms of BCEA and 7 inspectors in that area. Essentially, 13 inspections were conducted in PAL. That is for a period between 2022 to 2025. Further, Somerset West, they conducted 12 inspections. And they are indicating there for that area, they are having 6 BCA inspectors and 6 OHS inspectors, occupational health safety. For Worcester, they conducted 11 inspections. If you look at that, Honorable Chairperson, as I alluded to earlier, we would never reach all of these farms and we will not make any impact and change the lives of these workers with these numbers that are conducted for huge areas like Western Cape. In terms of the occupational health safety, also for a period between 2022 to 2025, they have conducted in 2022-23, 531. So it's for the entire year. They have also in 2023-24, they conducted 382. In 2024-25, they conducted 407. In 2022-23, for occupational health safety, again, they conducted 1,175. That was a huge number if you look at the other financial years that I've been mentioning. And then in 2023-22, they went backwards, reclined to about 338. In 2024-25, 478. Essentially, throughout those financial years, between 22 and 23, 1,175 inspections for occupational health safety. It tells you a picture, Chairperson, being the lowest on average of around 400 inspections a year. And the question is, how would we really get these compliance notices being issued on time so that they can be addressed? And lastly, in terms of we asked specific questions about the unannounced inspections of all the inspections that I just reported about. And the unannounced inspections that were conducted under the basic conditions, in 2022-23, there were only 7. In 23-24, there were 15. In 2024-25, there were 5. Under the occupational health safety, in 2022-23, it was 57. In 2023-24, it was 39. In 2024-25, it's 93. Essentially, Honorable Person, the submission is that this is not enough in our view, and hence our continued engagement with the department so that we can also acknowledge their difficulties in terms of what is there, and they need to be engaged in respect of that. These unannounced inspections, if they can be increased, they will assist in addressing issues that are hidden, as well as workers that are not registered, that are not been known at all, so that these issues that the members raised can be addressed. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you, Acting Chairperson.
Thank you so much, HOD Legal. Chair, before I hand over to you again, I'd just like to make a few comments on points raised. All our CGE reports are tabled before Parliament, and then the Commission initiates a presentation before the relevant committee. Members raised a question with regard to foreign nationals. The CGE has reported to the Department of Labour, and we are waiting feedback for them on the recommendations made in our report. There was a further comment or questions regarding the Security of Tenure Act. The CGE's Public Education and Information Department will collaborate with legal aid to educate farm workers on the extension of the Security of Tenure Act. Additionally, we will engage with the Legislature and the Law Reform Commission to present the gaps identified. And then lastly, Chair, how can the committee assist the Commission? We would respectfully request, Chair, that you engage the Department of Human Settlements and inquire what has been done so far regarding farm dwellings. We'd also request that you intervene to ensure that the department works hand in hand with other departments to ensure that the right to human dignity of farm workers is protected. Thank you, Chair. I then now hand over.
Thank you, Acting Chair. I see the hand of Siti Shoramuta. I take it's from your organization, or is it a mistaken hand? Siti Shoramuta.
From the
Chair,
department.
thank you.
Yes,
Oh,
Chair, thank you very much. I'm led by Ms. Tusi. I'm not sure if my acting DDG on behalf of the DG want to proceed, Chair, and then I will follow after, Chair.
okay.
Good morning, Chair and members. And we also, Chair, like to appreciate the presentation from the GCE. And the Chair, we have had the recommendations, especially the last speaker, who has just indicated that they will be requesting the information from the department, Chair. And we will, I'm sure, work with the committee in terms of providing the information requested and in terms of the recommendations, in terms of working with other departments. And I believe my colleague might have some of the information as she works with the sector transformation. My colleague Sitisho, Chair, with your permission, she can proceed. Thank you.
Okay, Sitisho.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, Chair, just in support of what my acting DDG said, we welcome the presentation, Chair, and we look forward to working with CGE in terms of implementation of the resolutions. Chair, in terms of the policy and legislative environment, we do maintain the urban-rural continuum. What we mean here, Chair, is that what we do on the urban side, we must do on the rural side. And then the other principle that we maintain from the legislative environment is that we should prioritize women as beneficiaries of the housing subsidy quantum. And then in the Department of Human Settlements, Chair, we have the rural housing subsidy as well as the farm worker subsidy, and this is embedded in the housing settlements housing code, the housing code. And then in terms of the recently approved white paper for human settlements, we prioritize the vulnerable groups, the poor, and the missing middle. Chair. And then, Chair, in terms of inception of democracy, Chair, since inception of democracy in regard to the rural housing projects and beneficiaries, we have 629,915 beneficiaries, and approved is 491,612 beneficiaries. And then we go further to disaggregate data in terms of gender for the benefit of the CGE. So most of our beneficiaries in terms of the rural housing subsidies are women. And then we then go further to the farm workers housing subsidy. We then said, okay, we have approved 15,593 beneficiaries, and then the completed housing units are 13,760 beneficiaries. We will avail this information to the CGE chair, but we really welcome the presentation from the CGE, and we say from our side, we want to empower women in the rural areas as well as in farm working communities in terms of the entire value chain of human settlements, so that some of them can be women-owned business entities, and then we improve their social and living conditions, Chair. So we really welcome the proposal from CGE, and we want Chair to permit us to continue to work with CGE so that we really promote the human settlements value chain opportunities, Chair. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. I think that is valuable information, which must be shared with CGE and the Secretary's office for this portfolio committee. Because when we do our oversight, we may want to see those houses which were benefited by the farm workers, because today the report focuses on farm workers as a vulnerable group. The report must also tell us where are these beneficiaries, in which province, which municipality, so that we are able to plan our oversight in response to the report by CGE. If we can do that as a matter of agency, we'll really appreciate. I think we are done with the item. I just want to give the acting chair to give her closing remarks, and then we step out of this item. Acting chair.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. We welcome the feedback from both the committee members and the department itself, the acting DG. We're looking forward to collaborating and working together and to bring about change. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time, and thanks very much for giving us the report. You can be released a delegation from CGE.
Thank you, Chair. CGE delegation, please leave the meeting.
Yes, thanks very much.
Thank you. Honorable members. Take care.
Even the departmental delegation.
Thank you so much.
And we deal with the honorable members quickly to deal with the outstanding minutes. We have 4 sets of minutes which were sent to you. Secretary, can you lead us?
Okay, Chair. I'm loading the first set. Are you able to see the first set, Chair?
No.
Okay, just hold on, sorry. The first set, Chair, is minutes where we were having a meeting with Communicare. That was the 5th of Feb, Chair.
Minutes of the meeting of the 5th of February. Let's scroll down. Are there corrections, amendments? First page, second page, third page, fourth page, fifth page, sixth page, seventh page. The meeting adjourned at 13 hours. Are there corrections, amendments?
It's 12 hours, Chair.
Eh?
On page 10, it's 12 hours.
Page 10, let's go to page 10.
It's only up to page 7, Chair. Mr. Gamede, can you repeat your...
I'm saying if you, what you flooded, what is on page 10, the meeting agenda at 1200.
The minutes are up to page 7. Are we looking at the same minutes, Honorable Gamede? Okay. Let's get a mover for the adoption.
I move, Chair, to adopt the minutes.
Honorable Poole moves. Can I get a seconder? Honorable Abada?
I second, Chair.
Seconded. Minutes adopted. I don't think there's an opposing view.
No
Can
opposing
we-
view, but I'm lost. I think
Okay.
I'm lost, Chair.
All right, let's go to the second set. Secretary, can you lead us?
Okay, Chair. The second set will be what's happening here? My apologies, Chair. Can we check the ones for the 25th of February, Chair?
Please flight. Minutes of the 25th February, where we were meeting with Shra, HDA, and NHFC. Let's scroll down. It's attendance register. I think somewhere we must make provision for time of arrival. This is a meeting where a number of members arrived late. Let's go on the next page. There's a roll call. Let's go down. Opening and welcome. Apologies. Opening remarks by the chair. Opening remarks by the minister. Briefing by Department of Human Settlement. Right. NHFC. Let's go down. Briefing by Department of Human Settlement. NHFC deliberations. Responses. Recommendations. I think we said recommendations for HDA must provide the committee with details as captured there. Report in the committee on the total cost as captured there. Increase focus on rural provinces and provide the committee with details as captured there. Can you go up a bit so that we look at what we said about NHFC? We said NHFC must review and revise all relevant policies, develop and implement as captured there, report to the committee on the implementation of the 10 by 10, report to the committee on the state and progress of Human Settlement Development Bank, engage with provinces and National Treasury, report on the committee on the status of progress of Human Settlement Development Bank is coming for the second time. Human Settlement Development Bank. And I think we also talked about the structure. that at some stage they must report to the committee about their organization. That's the minutes. Can we get a motion for the adoption? Honorable Jitebe.
Thank you, Chairperson. I move for the adoption.
Honorable Abad.
I'll second, Chair.
Reflection. Can we get to the third set?
Sorry, Chair, the system is very slow here. I'm not sure whether it's the Parliament network or what. Today's.
Right. The minutes of the 11th March, where we were listening to the briefing by KZN and Northwest. Page 1, page 2, page 3. Right, opening remarks. And opening remarks by briefing by Northwest. Deliberations and responses. Briefing by KZN. Deliberations and responses. National Department of Human Settlements. Recommendations. And closure. The meeting agenda at 12. I think Honorable Gamete, you wanted to say something about this. Maybe it's this one.
No, Chair, I was precise. It was page 10 on that slide that Unopala was sharing. It was 1200. On this one, it's on page 11. Meeting agenda at 1200. I was not mistaken. If Nopala can go back to that page, the one that he was studying, it's appeared like that.
What's written there?
Chairperson, I think
On this one, it's 1200, this one. And it's page 11 on this one. The page 7 that she tried to show me, it was not saying anything about adjournment, but I decided to just keep quiet because I realized that, no, maybe I'm on the wrong side. But on this one, it's page 11 and the meeting agenda at 1200. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Frenchman, you want to say something?
Hi there. I'm good. How are you?
Honorable Frenchman.
I think that Honorable Gamedi is looking at like the number of the heading and not the page number. The page number is small at the bottom in the center.
But Secretary, look at those at that set of minutes and then correct accordingly.
I
Can
will
I get
engage with Honorable Commander, Chair, because I don't understand. I don't follow now, but I will engage him, Chair.
all right? Can I get a motion for the adoption of this set of minutes?
I move for the adoption of the set of minutes, Chairperson.
Honorable Kagaikilwe. Honorable Kagaikilwe.
Chairperson, thank you very much. I second the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you very much. Minutes adopted. Do we still have another set?
Yes, Chair, the last one. The 18.
of February. In this meeting, we're to discuss motion of desirability on the pipe bill. The item we withdrew. Page 2, page 3, page 4. Input by City of Tshwane, input by Gauteng Department of Health. Let's go down. Let's scroll down. Page 6, page 7, page 8. The meeting agenda at 12:30.
12:20.
12:20.
Yes, Chair.
Any amendment, corrections? Nothing. Can I get a motion for the adoption? Honorable Abada.
I move to adopt, Chair.
Honorable Abada moving. Can I get a seconder? Can I get a seconder?
I'll second the motion, Chair, for the adoption of the minutes.
Honorable Frenchman seconding. Thanks very much. And on this one, Secretary, if we can follow up on our resolutions, because it affects petitioners, where there were promises, can we follow up with the relevant offices, Tshwane, Department of Health, Department of Infrastructure, Gauteng, to check whether they've implemented what they said they will implement, payment, and how far are they with the process of title deeds and so on. Can we make a follow-up so that if there's a need to call them back to the meeting, we're able to do so?
Noted, Chair.
What's the next item?
Disclosure, Chair.
Okay. Thanks very much, honorable members. Thanks to the delegation from the department. And even if we have released them, let me thank them again, the delegation from CGE. I think we have a better understanding of what they are doing. And Secretary, if we can review our program, inclusive of the areas we said we are going to visit as part of oversight in this financial year. The next financial year would start in April. If I recall, we said we'll visit Mpumalanga and Eastern Cape. If we can look at that, look at the parliamentary program, and we slot them in to make sure that we don't lose that that opportunity. Honorable members, thanks very much for your time. I know it's Friday. Most of us are driving. or in transit. Thanks very much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chair.
Chair. The same to you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you,
Bye.
Chair.
Bye.
Thanks, Mom.
Ciao.
Well, when are we getting somebody to pull up? Can the chairperson speak to the IFP and hear what's the story? Or what will